It happened 3 years ago, but even now, every October, I can still hear the sound of footsteps outside my window. Slow, deliberate, dragging steps that stopped just beneath the glass. I used to tell myself it was the wind, or maybe the creak of the old maple tree rubbing against the siding. But after what happened that Halloween night, I know better now. I was 21 at the time, a college junior who thought I was too old for costumes and candy, but still young enough to get drunk and roam the streets with my friends. It was supposed to be one of those harmless Halloween nights, booze, bad decisions, and the thrill of pretending to be someone else for a few hours. There were 4 of us: me, my roommate Eric, his girlfriend Megan, and our friend Tyler. We lived off campus in a cheap rental house that looked like it should have been condemned years ago. Crooked porch, peeling paint, and that permanent smell of mildew no amount of cleaning could fix. But the rent was dirt cheap, so we stayed. That night, Eric suggested we visit an old property about 2 miles out of town, an abandoned farmhouse that everyone swore was haunted. The story went that in the 1970s, a family of 5 lived there until one Halloween night when the father went insane. He supposedly murdered his wife and kids before hanging himself in the barn. Some people said the bodies were never found. Others claimed if you went there on Halloween, you could still hear the kids crying from the well behind the house. It sounded like typical small-town ghost lore. The kind of story you laugh about until you're standing in the dark with your flashlight flickering. I wasn't exactly thrilled about going, but Tyler insisted we bring a camera. For proof, he said, if we found anything worth filming. I figured it'd make for a fun, spooky memory. We left just before midnight, cutting across the fields under a thin, ghostly moon. The air was heavy with mist, and our flashlights made thin, trembling beams through it. The farmhouse came into view slowly, a black silhouette against the pale sky. The roof sagged in the middle, and one of the shutters hung loose, banging every few seconds in the wind. I remember thinking the place looked wrong. Not just abandoned, but angry, like it was waiting. Eric kicked the front door open, and the sound echoed through the empty halls. The air inside smelled like rot and wet wood. Our light swept over walls covered in peeling floral wallpaper, warped floorboards, and shattered glass. I felt that crawling sensation on the back of my neck, the one that tells you you're being watched. Megan stayed close to me, clutching her phone's flashlight. "I don't like this," she whispered. Tyler laughed. "Relax, it's just a house." He kept filming, narrating like some cheap YouTuber. "All right, guys, we're here inside the haunted farmhouse. Let's see if the stories are true." And then he stopped mid-sentence. His camera light fell on a set of muddy footprints leading down the hall. They were fresh. Not old, dust-caked imprints, but wet, dark prints still glistening in the flashlight. Barefoot, human-sized, and leading toward the kitchen. We all froze. Eric broke the silence with a nervous laugh. Probably just some homeless guy squatting here. But even as he said it, his voice wavered. Because those prints only went one way. They started in the middle of the hall. No prints coming from the door, no trail leading out. Just there, like someone had stepped out of thin air. I wanted to leave then, but Tyler was already moving toward the kitchen. "Come on," he said. "We'll just check it out." The kitchen was worse. The floor was soaked with water that had leaked from the ceiling, and the smell of mold was overwhelming. Broken dishes littered the counters, and a rusted refrigerator leaned against the wall like it might fall over any second. Then Megan pointed toward the far corner. "Is that a door?" It was small, almost hidden behind the counter. When Eric tugged it open, we realized it led down into a cellar. The wooden steps disappeared into pitch darkness. "I'm not going down there," Megan said immediately. Tyler grinned, shaking his camera. "Come on, that's where the good stuff always is." I wanted to stop him, but curiosity got the better of me. We descended one by one, our footsteps echoing on the old wood. The air grew colder, thick with the smell of earth and something metallic. Blood, maybe. At the bottom was a concrete floor, damp and slick with water. My flashlight flickered, and for a moment I thought I saw movement near the far wall. Something hunched, pale. But when I pointed the light, there was nothing. Just old shelves and an overturned chair. Then came the sound, a soft, wet drip. Drip. Drip behind us. Tyler turned, camera shaking in his hands. "Did you hear that?" The sound grew louder, coming from the ceiling above. I aimed my flashlight up. There was a dark stain spreading across the boards. "Water?" Eric muttered, but it wasn't water. The stain was too thick, too red. Megan screamed when something hit the floor near her, a drop of blood. And then, from somewhere in the darkness behind us, came the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow, uneven, bare. We ran. Tyler tripped halfway up the stairs, and I swear something grabbed his ankle. He kicked and screamed, his flashlight whipping around wildly. For a split second I saw a hand, grayish with long black nails, before he tore free and bolted after us. We didn't stop until we were outside, gasping for air. The moon was gone, swallowed by clouds. The field around the house was pitch black. "Where's the car?" Megan cried. It was gone. We had parked right by the gate, but now there was only empty dirt and tire tracks leading nowhere. "That's impossible," Eric said. Then Tyler's camera beeped. The screen glitched, flickered, and then began playing back what he'd just filmed. We crowded around it. It showed us entering the house, following the footprints. Then the cellar. But when it reached the part where we ran, the camera kept filming, even though Tyler swore he'd turned it off. We watched, transfixed, as the camera moved through the house again, slowly as if someone else was holding it. The angle shifted toward the front door, then toward the window, where we could see ourselves standing outside, staring at the camera through the glass. The footage cut out. Megan dropped the device.
"What the hell was that?"
Before anyone could answer, we heard the door slam behind us. We ran all the way back to town, not looking back once. When we finally reached the main road, my watch read 3:33 a.m. But when we checked the time again in town, it was 4:47. We'd lost over an hour. The next morning, we went back in daylight. The farmhouse was still there, but the door was nailed shut, the windows boarded, and the grass undisturbed. No footprints, no tire tracks, like no one had been there in years. Tyler uploaded the footage that night, but a few hours later he deleted it, pale and trembling. "There's more," he said. At the end, something new appeared. He wouldn't tell us what. He just smashed the SD card and threw it into the river. A week later, Tyler went missing. Police found his car parked near the same farmhouse. Inside, they found muddy footprints on the dashboard and a single handprint on the windshield pressed from inside the glass. Eric and Megan moved away soon after. I stayed. I told myself it was just a coincidence, a prank gone too far. But every Halloween since, I hear it again. The slow barefoot steps outside my window. The faint scrape of nails against glass. Last year, I finally worked up the nerve to look. There was a figure standing there, in the pale moonlight. Tall, gaunt, with long black nails and sunken eyes. It smiled, and in its hand, it held a broken camera. It lifted one finger to its lips, shh, and then it was gone. Now, every night leading up to Halloween, the footsteps come closer. Last night I heard the front door creak open. I'm writing this because I know what it wants. Something followed us home that night, and this year, it's coming inside. You ever get that feeling that you're being watched even when you're alone? That subtle crawling awareness in the back of your neck, like someone's eyes are pressing against you from the dark? I used to think that feeling was just anxiety, but I was wrong. It started 2 winters ago when I moved into a small apartment just outside Portland. It wasn't much. 1 bedroom, cracked tile floor, and a single window that faced a narrow alleyway. The kind of place that always felt one step away from falling apart. Still, I was fresh out of college, broke, and desperate for a place I could afford. The landlord, an older man named Mr. Caldwell, gave me the keys and warned me about the noise. "Old pipes," he said. "You'll hear things sometimes. Just don't worry about it." He said it too quickly. I didn't think much of it at the time. The first night was uneventful. I unpacked a few boxes, made instant noodles, and passed out on my mattress on the floor. I remember dreaming of a whisper, soft and close, like someone calling my name from the other side of a wall. When I woke up, it was 3:17 a.m. The room was freezing and my bedroom window was open. Now I know I locked it. I'm obsessive about that sort of thing. I live in the city, of course I lock my damn windows. But there it was, open just an inch, cold wind blowing in. I got up, shut it, and went back to bed, trying to convince myself I'd just forgotten. But as I pulled the blanket back over me, I noticed something odd. Tiny bits of dirt on the floor, just under the window, like someone had stepped in from outside. I tried to brush it off, but that feeling wouldn't leave. The sense that someone had been there while I slept. By the 3rd night I'd started hearing it, the sound Mr. Caldwell must have meant. It came around midnight, faint at first, a low creak, then a soft scrape. almost like someone dragging their fingernails slowly across the wall behind my bed. I banged on the plaster and shouted, thinking maybe it was a rat or pipes settling. The sound stopped, but as soon as I turned off the light, it started again, closer this time. I tried sleeping with the lights on after that. A week passed. Every night the noises got louder. Scraping, shuffling, whispering. I started noticing shadows that didn't make sense. Long shapes stretching across the room even when the light source was behind me. Sometimes I'd wake up to find my chair moved a few inches or my closet door cracked open. The worst part was the window. No matter how many times I locked it, I'd wake up to find it open. Always at exactly 3:17 a.m. By then I'd stopped pretending this was normal. I even set up a small camera facing the window, just to prove to myself I wasn't losing my mind. The next morning I watched the footage. At 3:17 the latch clicked open on its own. Then the glass slid up slow and smooth as if someone invisible was pushing it. For about 30 seconds nothing happened. The camera just stared into the dark alleyway outside, and then a shape rose up into view. It was tall, pale, and thin, like a man, but wrong. Its limbs were too long, its shoulders too narrow. It leaned forward until its head was level with the window. For a few seconds it just watched. Then it smiled. The camera froze there, face pressed to the glass, eyes like hollow pits. And then the feed cut out. I left my apartment that morning and didn't come back until daylight. When I did, the landlord was outside, hammering boards over the neighboring window. He looked startled when he saw me. "You still staying here?" he asked. "Why wouldn't I?" I said. He hesitated. "Most people don't last long in that unit." That was when he told me about the man who used to live there before me. A quiet guy, mid-30s, who disappeared last winter. No signs of a break-in, no note, just gone. Only thing they found was his bed dragged to the middle of the room and the window open. I wanted to move out immediately. But rent was cheap, and I convinced myself that maybe the guy had just skipped town. That night I triple-locked the window and even shoved a chair under the handle. I left every light on and slept with my phone recording video just in case. At 3:17 a.m., the chair fell over. The lights flickered and something started tapping slowly on the window. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The tapping got faster, louder, desperate, until finally, the glass shattered. I screamed and ran for the door, but it slammed shut before I could reach it. The sound of crawling filled the room, wet, jerking movements across the floorboards. I turned and saw it coming through the window. The thing was wrong. Its skin hung loose like melted wax, its eyes pitch black and sunken. Its mouth stretched impossibly wide as it crawled toward me on all fours, bones cracking with every movement. I bolted for the bathroom and locked myself inside. It scratched at the door for what felt like hours. Eventually the sound stopped. When I finally came out, the apartment was empty. The window was shut. No glass, no damage, no blood. Just silence. I moved out that morning. Didn't even bother to pack most of my things. It's been almost 2 years since then. I thought I'd escaped whatever that thing was. I got a new apartment, new number, even started therapy. For a while, life went back to normal. But 3 nights ago, I woke up in the middle of the night to a familiar sound. Tap, tap, tap. My blood ran cold. I turned toward my window. It was locked tight. But in the reflection of the glass, I saw it, that same pale, grinning face staring back at me. And behind it, my old apartment. I checked my phone camera from that night. I had accidentally recorded audio while I slept. At 3:17 a.m., there's a faint whisper, so quiet you can barely make it out. But if you listen closely, you can hear it say, "You moved out." I didn't. You'd think after everything I've seen, I'd stop doubting the supernatural. But I was one of those people who believed there's a rational explanation for everything. Sleep paralysis, overactive imagination, tricks of the light, whatever it was. I could explain it away, until the night I looked into my bathroom mirror after midnight. It sounds stupid when I say it out loud, like one of those urban legends that floats around sleepovers and Reddit threads. Don't look in the mirror after midnight, they say, or it'll look back, but this happened. And I swear to you, every word is true. I'd just moved into a small apartment complex on the edge of town. It was an old building with creaky floors and paper-thin walls, but it was cheap and quiet. 2 things I desperately needed. I work as a freelance editor, so I stay up late most nights, staring at screens, chugging coffee, and fighting deadlines. The first time it happened, it was around 2 a.m. I'd been editing an audiobook for some horror author, and my head was pounding from listening to screams and whispers through my headphones for hours. I went into the bathroom to splash some water on my face. When I looked up into the mirror, my reflection didn't move. It sounds impossible, right? But I swear it just stared at me, head tilted slightly, eyes locked on mine. I blinked. And then it blinked, just a second too late. The delay was small, almost imperceptible, but it was there. My stomach dropped. I turned off the light and left, telling myself I was overtired, that my brain was glitching after too many caffeine-fueled nights. I even laughed about it the next day. But that night I dreamed of my reflection. I was standing in front of the mirror again, but this time the lights were out. I could barely make out my shape in the glass. Then slowly the reflection smiled. Not me, it. Its mouth stretched wide, far too wide, until the corners of its lips split into black, dripping lines. I woke up drenched in sweat. For a few nights, everything was quiet. I even avoided the mirror altogether, using the small one in my bedroom instead. But it didn't help because the whispering started. It was soft at first, like wind through a crack in the wall. Then clearer, a voice that sounded almost like mine. "Look," it said. I froze, sitting at my desk. The sound was coming from the bathroom. "Look," it repeated, louder. The rational part of me said to leave the apartment, but curiosity, stupid human curiosity, dragged me up from my chair. I walked slowly toward the bathroom, the whispering growing sharper with each step. When I opened the door, the mirror was fogged over like someone had been breathing on it. And in the condensation, a message had been written in shaky letters. "Look at me." I backed out of the room, heart hammering. The air felt heavy, thick, almost electric. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I covered the mirror with an old bedsheet. That worked for a while, until it didn't. Because one night, around 12:43 a.m., I heard the sound of glass cracking. I ran to the bathroom, and the bedsheet had fallen to the floor. The mirror was splintered from the inside, like something had pressed against it from the other side. And through the fractures, I could see something moving. A dark, shifting shape beneath the glass. I called maintenance the next morning, but when they came, the mirror was perfectly fine. No cracks, no marks, nothing. They gave me that "you're losing it" look and left. That night I recorded it. I set up my phone on the counter facing the mirror and hit record before midnight. I didn't look at it, I just left it there. When I checked the footage the next morning, the timestamp read 12 cos to 12:14 a.m. Everything looked normal for the first few minutes. Then at 12:06, the reflection moved. Not a glitch, not a trick. It raised its hand and waved. But I hadn't been in the room. The recording ended with the reflection leaning forward until its face filled the frame, eyes black, mouth open in a silent scream, and then the video cut to static. After that, the activity escalated. The mirror started fogging up every night at exactly midnight. Sometimes when I passed by it, I'd see faint handprints on the inside. I stopped using the bathroom entirely. I brushed my teeth in the kitchen sink, used the gym shower down the street, anything to avoid that mirror. But it wanted attention. It wanted me to look. I woke up one night to the sound of glass shattering again. When I opened my eyes, I saw light flickering from the bathroom, like reflections bouncing around the walls. Something whispered from the darkness. "You can't ignore me." I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't move. The whisper came closer until I could feel breath on my ear. "Look." Against every ounce of reason, I turned my head. In the doorway stood me, same pajamas, same tired eyes, but the skin around its mouth was torn, stretched into that same horrible grin from my dream. Its head tilted slightly and it whispered again, "You're looking now." Then it lunged. I woke up the next morning on the floor. My ears were ringing. The bathroom door was closed and the mirror was gone. Just an empty space on the wall. I moved out that day. For a while, things were normal again. But the nightmares didn't stop. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see myself standing in that bathroom, staring back at me from the glass. Sometimes it would smile. Sometimes it would whisper. Then a few nights ago, I checked my phone camera by accident, the front-facing camera. For half a second, just half a second, I saw my reflection move before I did. And behind me, in the faint reflection of my apartment window, something darker smiled. Now every mirror in my place is covered. Even my phone screen gives me chills. But I can hear it at night. the soft scraping of glass, like fingernails dragging against it. It's getting louder, closer. I know what it wants. It doesn't want to be seen. It wants to come through. Sometimes, I catch myself glancing at the blank sheets hanging over my mirrors. My own reflection whispers from behind them, muffled but patient. Just one more look, and when I do, when I finally give in, I know I won't be the one looking back.